But then I think the other podcaster who I consider like the biggest in terms of just pure listener numbers is Roberto Martinez.
Interesting. Yeah, he's a big guy too.
Yeah, so Roberto Martinez, he does like interviews with like artists, creative. He has a podcast called Creativo, which is like The Creative. And there was some pretty big news actually because Amazon Music signed an exclusive deal with him. So he's going to be available exclusively on Amazon Music, and I had actually never heard of Amazon Music before. I'd never used it. So let me paint you a picture of how big Roberto Martinez is. He, apart from being like always in the top 3 podcasters charts in Mexico, he has 2.2 million subscribers on YouTube. So I think that kind of differentiates him from other podcasters who only have a strong podcast audience. He's also really, really big on YouTube. So he has 2.2 million subscribers on YouTube. From his last 5 episodes, he had 300,000 views, 500,000 views, 700,000 views, 280,000 views, and then 1 million views was an interview with Luis Gerardo Mendez, the actor, the Mexican actor.
Okay.
And some other sort of big episodes that he had on YouTube was with Santa Fe Clan, who was a Mexican rapper, 4.8 million. Luisito Comunica, famous Mexican YouTuber, has 2.3 million. And these are like 1 to 2 hour interviews. So he's getting around like 1 million views per episode on YouTube. Just to put this into perspective, the last 5 clips on the Joe Rogan channel had 1.5 million views, 400,000, 700,000, 300,000, and 800,000. So those were the last clips. Obviously, Joe Rogan now exclusively publishes his podcast on Spotify, and he does have like several episodes with like 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. But this should give you a perspective on how big Roberto Martinez is. Like he's getting like 1 million views on a 2-hour conversation quite regularly. And then he's also getting millions of downloads. So he's always like either number 1 or number 2 or number 3 in the podcast charts in Mexico.
Well, that's so crazy. And he's a Spanish-speaking podcast, right? Like all of his content is in Spanish. So
exactly. So I want you to guess the size of the deal. It's not public information. I just want you to estimate. Like the Joe Rogan deal was 100 million. So what do you think? How much do you think Amazon Music paid Roberto Martinez?
I don't know. Maybe something around 10 million. 5 million?
Yeah. I wrote down 10 to 20 million. And I think 20 million would be kind of like at the higher end. It's probably going to be paid out over several years.
Yeah.
So it's massive. It's a massive. It's amazing. It's a massive deal. Yeah. It's a crazy deal because I think that most Americans probably don't think that podcasts are, or have probably never heard of any podcasters outside of the US. So podcasts are really, really big in Latin America. And I wanted to kind of give some numbers to provide like context on how big podcasts are outside of the US. But I also wanted to discuss this deal because it's very, very interesting. And I really like the way it's structured because his podcast episodes are going to be exclusive on Amazon Music, and you'll have to be a subscriber. So you'll have to pay a monthly fee to Amazon in order to listen to his episodes. And Amazon basically went for the biggest podcaster in Mexico, like to start this podcasting strategy. And what I really like about this deal is that Roberto Martinez is still allowed to upload on YouTube. Like he's still allowed to upload entire episodes on YouTube, but they are going to be delayed for 3 days. So if you're subscribed to Amazon Music, you'll get the episodes 3 days before they're uploaded to YouTube. And I think that's a fantastic deal because he knows the value of YouTube, because I think until now it's been his only monetization strategy apart from selling books and stuff like that. So he's still allowed to upload complete episodes. And this is different from the Joe Rogan deal because Joe Rogan is only allowed to do clips on YouTube. And Spotify actually had to roll out like a video solution in order to allow Joe Rogan to not only post episodes, but also video to Spotify. But I love that Roberto Martinez basically negotiated in a way that he's still allowed to upload.
That way he diversifies also his sources of income. I think that's, when they get this contract where it's like some sort of monopoly with just one company or one platform, I think it's risky too. So yeah, I think that's something big for him to be able to upload videos in YouTube. That's huge.
Yeah, And I think it's this deal is generally pretty good news for creators, right? Because it's so difficult to monetize a podcast. So to have like a big player like Amazon Music come in, I'm really looking forward to sort of the podcast wars that are going to start happening between Amazon Music and Spotify. I think Spotify is just so dominant in the US. I think in emerging markets it's going to look quite different, or could look quite different. So I'm really looking forward to see how that is going to pan out. And I think that Roberto Martinez could eventually also be available on Prime, like on Amazon on Prime Video, potentially. And the other reason why I think this deal is so interesting is that it's backed by data, right? Amazon has the best data in the world. They understand the customers, I think, better than anyone else. And a lot of their audience or a lot of their customers are willing to pay a subscription for Amazon Music, and probably they even know that they are specifically willing to pay to hear content from Roberto Martinez. I think that they probably have some data around possibly books being sold or other merchandise, etc. So I think it's probably a deal that Amazon is using data to underwrite it, and I think it's a really, really smart move, and it shows, it paints a general picture on how big podcasts are in Latin America, right? Because Amazon wouldn't do $1 million deal if the numbers aren't there to support that type of deal, right? If it wouldn't make financial sense. So I think it kind of paints a picture on how big podcasts are in Mexico and in Latin America in general.